It is time for another version of Husker Chat. It's brought to you by Acres Equipment. I'm Jayson Jorgensen. We are joined by Sean Callaham with HuskerOnline to discuss Husker football, which is certainly an interesting time right now, especially since the hiring of Matt Rhule as a head coach at Nebraska. Sean, thanks a lot for the time. I know you're extremely busy. Lots been going on. I guess what's your initial take on this hire? And it kind of looks like Matt Rhule has hit the ground running.
Yeah, Friday today is the first day coaches can go out on the road to recruit. So there's been a lot of that going on right now. Matt Rhule started out at Lincoln. You've got coaches all over Omaha, Denver, North Carolina. So they're starting in and working their way out. But really, you're going to see Nebraska's coaches probably out on the road 7 straight days, 8 straight days, and then next weekend they'll have in-home or official visitors come on campus. You could have official visitors this weekend, but I think the priority right now is to get into the homes of as many of your current recruits as possible, because they've lost a few. Malachi Coleman's reopened things up. Omarion Miller decommitted from Nebraska. Those were both Mickey Joseph guys in this class. I think they're going to end up parting ways with their quarterback, William Watson. That was a Mark Whipple guy. I think they're going to try to get in on some new names. Lincoln Kuhnholz from Pierce, South Dakota is a name to watch. He's committed to Washington, but an outstanding player up in South Dakota. And then, Arnold Duda Barnes, I don't know if his commitment's going to stay around either. He was a Mickey Joseph, Louisiana add to this class as well. So, yeah, it's, they hired Matt Rhule Monday, and it was ready, set, go pretty much from that point on.
Sean, you have followed recruiting for years. How tough is it, or how does this work historically? You talk about the guys they lose. How tough is it to get guys back? Because so much of recruiting is relationships, and many times those have been fostered over months and years.
Yeah, a lot of it is, are you committed to the school or are you committed to the coach? And I think in the case of some of these guys that came with Coach Joseph, they might have been committed more to Mickey Joseph than in the school. And, we saw that with Trey Palmer. Trey Palmer was committed more to Mickey Joseph than LSU. He left, LSU to come to Nebraska to follow Mickey Joseph. So I think we saw that with Omarion Miller to an extent, Malachi Coleman. I still think Nebraska has a pretty good chance at Coleman, but you've got to kind of start the whining and dining process all over again. And he's got a visit lined up to go to Michigan in December. And so we'll see where it goes with Coleman. But it's kind of the world we live in. I mean, I covered an entire hour-long ceremony for Coleman about a month or so ago, and here we are now. He's reopened his recruiting back up. So it's kind of the world that we're in with some of these coaching changes. You're just going to see things like this happen.
We've also seen some prominent Huskers jump into the transfer portal. Not that that's unexpected, but still, that's disappointing in a way, I suppose. However, that transfer portal can work both ways.
Yeah, Ernest Hausman's the big one. Brant Banks, not a surprise. DeColdis Crawford, another Mickey Joseph guy that tore his ACL, left the program. But Brant Banks is just and DeColdis, those were the two. But I think the big one was Ernest Hausman. He looked like an all Big Ten level linebacker for Nebraska. To lose him, that's a blow. I don't think anybody was expecting that. He's a Columbus kid, Nebraska family, great family. And, I think that was a surprise. It almost makes you wonder, did a team, get to them a little bit behind the scenes and just say like, hey, you're a really good player. And, you ought to maybe look here. And, I thought about Michigan, for example. He had a great game at Michigan, and Michigan recruited him out of Columbus. They offered him. So I'm sure Michigan was pretty impressed that day, and a lot of people were, the way he played at some of these games late down the year. Now, will the new staff have a chance? I don't know. And I saw the question about defensive coordinator. I think a big question is, who is the defensive coordinator? We don't know. Nobody has a read on that. Phil Snow, who's kind of been his longtime guy everywhere for Matt Rhule, he's really not in the picture from all the people I've talked to. So from there, where do you go? You've heard Jeff Collins' name mentioned, a former Georgia Tech head coach, but it's really quiet on that front with him too. So who will be the defensive coordinator? You're looking right now at the 6 full-time hires that have been made. That's 6 of the 11, with Corey Campbell being the strength coach. So they still have to fill out 5 more of these full-time staff spots on here right now. And, the only coach that has a chance to be retained is Donovan Raiola. But I don't know where that sits right now. He's not out on the road here on Friday. They sent Keith Williams, a behind the scenes guy, to do offensive line recruiting in Omaha. So that to me is not a good sign for Donovan Raiola, because if he was being retained, I think he'd maybe be out on the road right now.
As a whole, what do you make of this bunch that we've learned so far that Rhule is bringing in? It does look like 2 or 3 of these guys have pretty extensive experience as recruiters and have at one point or another maybe been a recruiting coordinator themselves.
Yeah, I think Satterfield is really impressive. The offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield from South Carolina. Evan Cooper is a
I think maybe we have lost our connection with
guys that they
Sean is
have
what
in.
we're talking about. Oh, Sean's back. So
Sorry, my
Sean,
phone was ringing right as we're doing this. So I apologize. I didn't know it would buzz me out. But yeah, it's a good mix of recruiters when you look at the different guys on this staff. Satterfield, obviously, and I think Cooper's a top-notch recruiter. Barthel and Knighton bring a lot of young energy, and Ed Foley's a guy that's been around a long time.
okay, as you look at things developing now with Husker football, what's the next step? Of course, he's certainly focusing in on recruits, and they have to go out and recruit guys out of the system. But it also maybe sounds like some recruiting just in house too. I'm sure they don't want to lose any more key players from what they have. I know in the past when Matt Rhule has taken over, the first year's been kind of rough, but I'm sure if he could get away with that and not have to burn it all down to the ground, he probably would hopefully go that route.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, you keep all your key players and you bring in better ones and new ones with them. But we know the world's not perfect. So I think it's going to be a lot of ups and downs in the next month or two. You just got to be ready for it. There's going to be good things that happen in Nebraska. There's going to be things like Ernest Hausman that happened yesterday. And when you have a coaching change, especially in the NIL and transfer portal era of college football, these types of things are going to happen. And as fans, it's easy to get emotional. I deal with the largest Husker message board every day and see it every day. And you get wrapped up in it. But you got to understand, when you have a change like this, there's going to be other things that happen with it.
What do you think the chances are that Casey Thompson comes back?
Undetermined. I think he is leaning that way. But the question is, I think, are they going to want to commit the job to him? Because Casey Thompson, if he stays, is going to want to be committed, kind of like the inside track to the job. I think a lot of it is who becomes available in the transfer portal starting Monday. And if they feel like they can get a different guy in, they might want to go that route. But if Casey is their best option, maybe he'll get one more year. Remember, Jayson, though, he'll be 25 in October.
One more question to get you out of here. Are you surprised at some of the pushback to Matt Rhule? To me, this looks like a really good hire. He's been able to do it at a couple of other places. Trev Alberts said he wanted to find someone who was a builder. I guess from what I've seen online, and I know you have to take that, with a grain of salt. I guess I'm surprised there's been some people that, were kind of resistant to this, because to me, it looks like this is a pretty good hire.
Yeah, I tend not to get too caught up in it. I think your common rank and file Nebraska fan is pretty satisfied with it all. And you're going to hear from vocal fans one way or the other always. But I think the coaches I've talked to, like high school coaches that have dealt with Rhule in the last few days, they've all been really impressed with him and his. I know the players have had their individual meetings with him already, and they've really come away impressed. He was really open to them, wanted them to tell them what they liked about Nebraska, what they wanted to see different. So he has a very good dialogue, and he plans to have individual meetings with every single player after the spring and the fall every year. So I think he's got an open door policy with his locker room. But yeah, I think it's a good hire. I think no matter who you were going to get, there's always going to be debate. There's only one time it hasn't happened, and that was Scott Frost. And look where we're at right now. I think every coach hire is always going to kind of come with some debate. But Trev Alberts got the guy he wanted.
All right, Sean, I know you're a busy man. Appreciate the time. Busy time for you and what you do. But thanks for your insights, and thanks for being here all season long.
Hey, thanks, Jayson. It was great to do this, and looking forward to a busy off season now.
All right. That was Sean Callahan of Husker Online, our Husker analyst. And that's going to do it for once again for this season of Husker Chat, brought to you by Acres Equipment. I'm Jayson Jorgensen.